We are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is P-Car Talk. All right, welcome to another episode of P-Car Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are coming to you on the eve of DRT. That's right, DRT is still happening. If you're listening to this, we're actually en route probably to Miami because this is Thursday and this is the day we're leaving to Miami. But before we get started, we want to thank JRZ, our sponsor for this episode and for the next 6 months. So
a few of them.
Thanks for coming on, JRZ. More to follow with them. But if you don't know who JRZ is, they basically do the baddest race suspension out there known to man, right?
Yeah.
In addition to that, if you're doing overlanding stuff, they do that as well. So
Still a lot.
If you're real badass, you got overlanding stuff on your vehicle, possibly a Cayenne, hopefully, and then you go to the racetrack with the JRZ suspension on your whatever 911, right? So thank you, JRZ, for giving us the best of both worlds on and off road, right?
Yep. Not trying to talk yourself up, huh?
No, not at all. So let's talk about Daytona. I know we're a few weeks removed from it. This is the first time Aaron and I are getting back together after the guests that we had. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Yeah.
With we had Lawrence Van Thor on and Patrick Long. So those are really good episodes for us. We really enjoyed them. I hope you guys enjoyed them. But talking about Daytona real briefly, obviously the race was over before it got started for the RSR WeatherTech car, right? Scumbag.
Yep, not the way you wanted it.
Yeah, scumbag BMW punched the car right at the drop of the green flag, right at the very first lap.
Full throttle, back bumper's broken, front stuff's broken. It was a lot broken.
Yeah, ridiculous. Basically put them 12 laps down because they went in the paddock to go fix everything. Meanwhile, BMW gets a slap on the hand and gets a drive-through penalty.
Yep.
So if you're not an avid race watcher fan or know what's going on within racing or any of that stuff, generally the penalty is a very minimal thing to the vehicle that they cause the victimized damage to. The vehicle usually who's victimized in these situations, i.e. the Porsche this time, had broken stuff. It took them 12 laps to go down. And if you don't know, if you go that many laps down and the race is fairly clean for your competitors, that's a death sentence to try to make up. You're not going to make that up.
Even with all the cautions they had, there still wasn't enough.
You can't make that up. And Porsche didn't. Long story short, they did not make that up. They still end up finishing, I think, 8 laps out off the lead lap, I think is the closest they ended up getting.
They were held down that 6th position the entire time.
Meanwhile, the scumbag BMW car ends up competing for a podium spot towards the end of the race, even though they took a car out.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at, even though it's, I'm whining because it's a Porsche, but in any situation of any racing, if it was the roles were reversed and Porsche did that to a BMW, I think the penalties should be more severe. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I know we talked about this offline, and it kind of makes sense where they get even penalties or even lap downs.
Yeah.
So if you took out a car and it takes that car 6 laps down, then maybe that car should also be penalized. The car that caused the accident 6 laps down, or at least maybe an easier thing would be if you get, even doesn't matter how long it takes you to fix your car, maybe you only get 1 lap down, or even you still get lead lap because you didn't cause it and that other car gets a lap down.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that say, well, that's racing though, like things happen, people crash, that's what makes racing. I do agree. If it's incidental contact, you want to be able to go hard, but what this was deliberate, obviously. When there's a deliberate incident or you deliberately basically box somebody out of a corner so they can't apex and they have to crash into a tire barrier, that's deliberate. That's not racing. That's you not knowing how to handle your car and being a dickhead. That's what that is. So I'm on the latter side of that. I think if you're causing the accident and you're a prick, you're the one should get it. I think they should penalize them as much as the other car got penalized. Not penalized, but laps go down as far as repairing. Because on the flip side of that, I don't see... Because what if they're in there repairing, for example, right? And what if they repair so much stuff and it just takes them a really, really long time? And let's call it an endurance race, for example. Say it takes them 2 hours to fix this car. So now that car was on track for 2 less hours than the other cars, but now they're only going to be 1 lap down. I don't think that's the right move. I think whatever time that car has to be repaired for the damage that was caused to it, and the person who caused that damage, I think they should share equal laps down because of it. I think they should penalize that car that way. Because the other cars that are still racing, they're still racing. So I think because of that, I think that's more fair, because otherwise there's less damage on that vehicle. It's less run time, less all of that time, less tires, all of that stuff being eaten up, and now they're only one lap down. I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think the way to go about it is basically handcuff the car that handcuffed the victim, essentially. So basically marry those two clowns together, unfortunately. Be like, hey, you crashed me, now we're together. See what's going to happen now? You and me are going to be all together the rest of the race now.
I hope I get fixed fast, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're going to see the other team who caused the accident over there fixing the other car, essentially, like, is what you're going to see. You're going to see some massive teamwork that happens with that.
In an unprecedented effort, BMW team is helping Porsche team.
But, honestly, it really sucks for Porsche because they had a really strong car. It sucks for anybody in that position, but I think they need to fix those rules of racing a little bit on that end. And I think it should be more the way that I was describing. If you're causing the damage and you deliberately are a dickhead about it, and the other car is significant, and if the other car, for whatever example, is out of the race, well, guess what? You're out of it too, bud. Game over for you. So that's just my thoughts behind it. We've been to a lot of racing. We've been watching a lot of racing for a long time, and it's just so frustrating. I can't imagine how they must have felt, because we're just fans. We don't have dollars riding on it. We don't have careers riding on all that. And they're like, great, we prepped all week. We did all that stuff. We just took the warm-up laps. The car's ready to go. Green flag drops. Boom, out of the race. And basically they were just driving to drive for the next 23 hours of the race.
Yeah, they got data.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Exactly.
Long practice.
Meanwhile, one drive-through penalty. That's all. And you ruined somebody's entire race. Anyways, moving on. Bigger issues at hand. This isn't something new, but it is kind of maybe new for our listeners if you're not paying attention and not maybe reading your news bulletins or not reading your emails, which is very common for a lot of people. So Porsche has issued a stop sale with vehicles with sports chrono package between the years of 2012 to 2016. Now, that's within the Porsche dealer network. And if you don't know what a stop sale is, what that is basically anything in their dealer network that's on the lot currently within those years that have sports chrono, they cannot sell you that car. Reason being is apparently those vehicles between those years that carry sports chrono are emitting way too much nitrogen into the atmosphere. So
another emissions thing.
It doesn't say that the EPA is involved, but they are involved. I'm sure there's going to be some penalty that comes out with this down the road. So Porsche, in effort to probably mitigate the fine or the fallout from this, they're going to basically reprogram all these cars within their control. Now, if you already have one of these controls, Porsche AG has indicated the vehicle's still safe to drive. It's all good. It's fine. You're not required to bring the vehicle in to get all of those things done. But them as a manufacturer, if any of those vehicles are in their possession, they cannot sell them until the ECUs are reprogrammed in those vehicles. To legally sell them. Yeah. Now, this doesn't cover independent dealerships either, unaffiliated with Porsche. So all the independents can still sell these cars. So instantly, my thought process, obviously there's a lot of cars within this. I mean, you could have even gotten a Macan or a Cayenne with sports chrono if you really wanted to on your package. So this covers all of it. This isn't just a sports car, so don't limit your thinking behind this. This is everything. This is from Boxster all the way up to Cayenne. This is anything within that sports chrono, But my mind all goes right to all of the performance cars, right? I think about the turbos. I think about Turbo S's. I think about GT3s. I think about GT3 RS's. So they have to remap these cars if they're for sale and they've taken them in on trade-in and this is their used inventory to make sure this emission goes down. So does that mean the car you're going to get is a little bit more detuned now? So if you're buying a 15 GT3 or a 16 GT3, it's at a dealership, for example, are they going to have to remap the car to resell it? They do legally if it's there. What's that going to look like now when it comes out of there?
Yeah, but I wonder if that new map is for the entire range, like rev range, or is it an idle? Like, is it making? I wonder if there's a certain specific range as to which it's making too much nitrogen, or if it's just all the time.
It didn't say.
That's the question.
It didn't say.
Yeah, it
so
sucks when you get
your
a
guess,
detuned
your
GT
guess is
car,
as good
but,
as mine. So needless to say, generally speaking, you want to buy your car at a Porsche dealership because generally it's CPO'd, and if they're reselling it,
And
it's
now
probably a
detuned.
good car. Now as a buyer, but let me ask you this question. If you're a buyer for one of those cars, are you staying away from the dealership now that you know this information? Because now you don't want that car because is it less performing as buying a car from an independent or a private sale person who hasn't had to have the car remapped now?
One, if I'm in the market, I can't buy a car from them anyways right now until they get the situation figured out. So if I'm currently in the market, I have to go elsewhere.
Yeah, and actually, to piggyback on what Aaron just said, there's also hasn't been a release date of the cars that are actually in this category at the dealerships when those will get, like, for example, if there's a GT3 RS 16 at a dealership you are looking at, that car can't be sold to you, and there's not a time frame when that car is going to get remapped and resold. There is no time frame. It's indefinite right now. They don't know when that's going to happen. Obviously, they want that to happen sooner than later, but they haven't been able to release a date on that because this is so current info. And great point with that, because if you are a person who's shopping a car and you want that CPO and you are a dealership hunter because you want the safety of that for whatever the warm and fuzzies that make you feel, this maybe takes a percentage of cars off the market now for people to buy, at least temporarily, right? So if you're a buyer right now, maybe that dries up that market temporarily,
If you're
where
for a used car for sure.
So now all the private sellers or all the independent sellers or maybe the card holders here, and once those are sold, until the Porsche can roll these back out, the used ones they have, maybe we have a little bit of a shortage thing happening here.
Maybe on the used market. I mean, that's a pretty good gap, and they're not that old of cars either. So I can see shopping them. So.
No, I know, and they made a shit ton of them. Let's be honest. I mean, would they make like 30,000 GT3 RSs in 2016? I mean, seriously. I mean, there was a gangbusters of them, right? Like, I think everybody who wanted one got one, and then everybody wanted a second one got a second one, and everybody wanted a third one got a third one too. Exactly. You guys hungry? I got thirds for you too, baby. You want white sock pack with that? Gotcha. What else you need?
Only a couple dollars on
Magnesium wheels. Got to get the next one. But I think that's pretty impactful news. I mean, because that's a wide spectrum of cars. I mean, all the way somebody down to who's maybe shopping a Boxster at a dealership who it has sports chrono now. Now, does that turn into, if you're still hell bent on buying that car of that year, make, model between that time frame, do you now shop one without sports chrono?
I mean, maybe, but I mean, these cars are so old. Well, they're not super old, but they're old enough that a 17 to the 21 is still, 5 years, 6 years of span. I doubt anybody that's actually shopping at a dealership is going to go any older than a 2017.
Well,
so you think that
15, 16 GT3s and like 16 for the GT3 RS, those are still at dealerships because those group of people are the ones right now trading those cars in for potential allocations for the new car.
New ones,
So there may be a stockpile of these things showing up, and they're basically just going to take up room.
Man, that would be bad for the dealership. Let's take that on a trade. Yeah. Oh no, that's bad.
And on the flip side of that, it does say in here you shouldn't be penalized for it, but like, what if the dealership's like, yeah, man, I don't want that thing.
Sorry.
It's like, but
you got to trade in.
You're better off selling it privately, man. You'll make more money. We'll still give you your allocation, but don't bring that in here. Don't bring that in.
What do you have to trade in? Oh, it's a 2000 Fit. No.
Yeah. Nope. Got sports chrono? Yep. No. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't have sports chrono. Yeah, bring it. We'll take it.
Just rip the gauge off the dash.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, but in my mind, I already went to something like that, and we're just scratching the surface here. What do you, obviously, hey, I don't want to talk about this Dieselgate thing, but
100%. I mean, this could be just the first batch they want to address, and it's a lot larger issue.
Yeah. Could this be the doom for Porsche for a little while, because they were basically printing money for a very, very long time. Maybe that's why there was such a huge push for them, because I know they're part of the Volkswagen group, but still, to get an EV out as quick as you can. Maybe let's try to make right with the EPA here. Let's try to make this thing go.
Make all the fossil fuels go away.
Yeah, like, hey, we're trying to save the planet, man. Sorry about what we did a few years ago, but
yeah. See all these new shiny things?
Yeah.
Check them out.
So if you're in that category and you're listening, don't panic. Your car's still fine. But just be mindful if you are on the flip side of that and you are shopping something with Sports Chrono and it's at a dealership, probably not going to be able to buy it anytime soon from the dealer. So note to self, hunt either independents, private deals on those. So a little bit of info to pass forward to you guys on that. Next. March 1st, the new Lego Porsche will come out. It's basically an 80s turbo. Looks like a 930 type of setup.
There's a white one. No, you're talking about like a bigger one? And a small
Yeah,
little version
it's a little bit
180
bigger.
ones.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. This is a little bit bigger, I think. But not huge. It's not like the Lego Technics one. I think the neat thing about this, and why I'm noting this, I know there's a lot of Lego heads out there that are Porsche people as well that like to do these Legos. The neat thing about this particular one, it's coming out within its own set. You have the option of making it. I think it's the 930 Turbo Coupe, or you can make this a Targa. So you can build it any way you want. Yes. And if you want both, you're gonna need to buy 2 sets. So, because there's not enough pieces within one set to obviously build 2, but you can choose which one you want to do. So basically, it's probably like the chassis, and then you can build however you want to do the top and stuff like that. I didn't even know this was the thing either when I was reading this information through the article that I was reading. Apparently, Lego has a VIP program.
Oh, you mean they have a membership program?
Who else has membership programs?
Shocking.
Yeah,
I can't think
everybody has a membership program, right? But if you are part of this Lego VIP, you can get the purchase of this earlier than March 1st. So if you can't wait till then to put together your Legos because you love them so much and you're a Porsche fan, then certainly this probably makes a lot of sense for you. I have some Lego sets, but I've never opened them or put them together. Are you one of these guys? Because there's only two ways to go about this, right? You either open it, put it together, or you just never open it. Which one of person are you on this?
I like to think I want to build it, but if I did open it, this is so time consuming, especially for like the things that we give away.
You can't say yes to both of these questions. You have to pick one. Like you either are like, so you know yourself as a person, and if you don't, we need to like have some self-reflection time.
Self-reflection.
If you buy something and you like to build things, like, are you a person who likes to do the puzzles? Do you like to build the stuff? No matter what it is, don't think about the residual value. Do you want to build the item, or do you just not care enough and you just want it in the box?
I'm a builder, but of Legos, I'm leaving in the box.
Okay. I've left all of mine in the box, and not because I think they're going to be super valuable, but I just think it's neat to have them, and I just don't give a rat's ass if tried to take the time to put it together. I'm just not one of those type of people. Especially, I think somebody tried to give us as a gift too. Well, I know we gave one away for our membership, but I think even somebody was trying to give me as maybe a personal Christmas present, like one of those Lego Technics things, and I said, do not buy that thing for me. Because
like 20,000 pieces.
Super nice gesture. Really, really nice gesture, but I'm not going to put it together, and I really don't want to do it. And I think we talked to Chad. I think he spent
a good amount.
I think he spent over a span of 3 or 4 days after work. I think it accumulated 24 hours of assembly time putting together the Technics that he won as a club member from us. And I'm like, dude, he's like, man, I had to force myself to go to sleep. I was up at like 1 o'clock after work, still like putting it away in the morning. He's like, man, I got to go to bed. And I'm like, dude, some people get really into it, and that's cool. Like, a lot of people get into model building. I just never was really into that. I was more of kind of like, hey, is it built? Can I go race it? Let me get in it. I don't want to build the car. Let me get in it and go for a ride. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But I know there's lots of, that's why I just wanted to ask you that question, because there's a lot, and you're trying to answer both. Yeah, I build it and I'd save it. Like, no, bullshit. There's a line in the sand. Pick one. Where are you at with this?
No, I wouldn't build it, because that's why I haven't bought any of those things. I see them, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then
I've stopped a long time ago. I think I bought a few rounds of it, and I don't own the Lego Technics thing, just because that's a thing I feel like it shouldn't stay in the box. That's the thing it should be assembled. But all the other ones, I have the smaller ones, you know, the 930 you were talking about, and the smaller stuff like that.
Every time I see it in Chris Rogers' office, I just like think about how many hours
That's all I see. That for me, it's an amazing thing. If you don't know what that is, I mean, the engine pistons they turn, all that stuff. It's really, really cool stuff. The engineering behind it's really, really well done. But I'm the same way as you, and I wish I didn't work this way. The minute I see that, like, I guess maybe it's from my financial background, I just see hours accumulated above it.
Gantt chart.
Yeah, I see labor hours. That's what I see. I see that thing, and then there's like a thing floating above it, labor hours, what cost to do that. That's, okay, 24 labor hours to do this. Not interested. Anyways, enough about Legos. Just wanted to touch base with that. So, upcoming giveaway that's coming out, Manny.
Yeah.
If you don't know him on Instagram, he's an amazing artist. I think it's Manuprint on Instagram, his IG handle. He hails from Spain. I hail from Spain.
Yep.
But awesome dude. We've met him a couple times, had some real good conversations. Obviously, all pre-COVID stuff when he was visiting in the States. Huge car fan, huge car enthusiast. He's world-renowned painter and artist, but he's phenomenal. Aaron brought it up the other day. It was a really, really good point. He goes, his paintings are so real looking.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about art, but the only thing, because the paints even look so shiny, I'm like, man, he must use some like type of oil paint or something that makes it look so vibrant and real. It really looks like when he has a finished product, it looks like the real car is on that print, on his canvas, I should say.
Yeah.
And where I'm going with this is one of his prints, we're going to end up giving away, not the actual canvas painting, but one of the prints off of it. And he's only running 50 of this particular print. It's the Albert Blue long hood Porsche Aaron posted.
It's already not 50.
Yeah. And which is even more badass is that Manny's going to sign it for whoever the winner is.
Yeah.
And big thanks to Manny on that. And that's going to be a very, very special print to have and frame in your home, and it's very, very classy looking. It's very amazing looking. And again, if you haven't seen it, go to our Instagram page and take a look at that, and give Manny a follow too. Like, see what he has going on, because he's always doing some amazing stuff. And granted, he paints all type of automotive stuff, but obviously our favorite stuff is the Porsche stuff he paints.
He's been recently doing some race car stuff, some of the later stuff, like last year's cars, and
really, really great stuff. So give him a holler. And if you're not a P-Car Club member, please think about joining to become a P-Car Club member, because all of our revenue basically comes in from that.
Basically, it does.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll replace that word. Not basically, it does. Every dollar that you guys put in for the P-Car Club basically helps us travel, put people on like Patrick Long, people on like Lawrence Van Thoron, so that you guys can hear those special podcasts, and puts us in a position to basically capture those things for you, and show up at places where maybe you guys can't travel, but you can hear about the event and hear about people that are at that event, or race car drivers, and hear those stories. So we want to thank you guys for who you guys are as P-Car Club members. And if you're not a P-Car Club member, again, think about joining on our website at pcarclub.com. It really, really helps us a lot. And again, you don't have to be a Porsche owner to be a P-Car Club member. I will say it again, you do not need to be a Porsche owner to be a P-Car Club member. Everybody thinks that. That's where we differ. It's not only to Porsche people. You can support us through that if you just enjoy the podcast. So let's take a quick break. We will come back and we will talk a lot about DRT since it is going to be DRT weekend. Thank you guys listening to P-Car Talk so much. We appreciate you guys so much. I can't say that enough. Everything we're doing is trying to bring the community closer together. We definitely appreciate that. Also, when you go on to YouTube, if you could subscribe, maybe pass it along, make a comment. We really appreciate that. Now back to the show. We're back from break. And like we stated at the beginning of the show, it's Thursday. So Aaron and I are the magic of Hollywood. We're en route right now to Miami.
I'm driving. Can't even hear Mike's 964.
Yeah, it's super quiet. I EV'd it. But DRT is happening. And I know there's probably a lot of people with a lot of questions, because there's usually a lot of build up to DRT. It's announced a lot earlier, and clearly we're still in the COVID status of things happening, and the whole DRT crew wasn't even sure they were going to still do this. So this kind of came together last minute.
Real last minute.
And the announcement obviously is only 3 weeks prior. They announced it last week, or I guess by the time you listen to this, it'll be 3 weeks ago when they announced this. But there was some purpose behind that as well. It's almost kind of a blessing in disguise from what I understand from Al and his team, because DRT was getting a little too large. I'm sure it was a really big treat for everybody and they loved doing it, but at the same time, it was very, very stressful for that team to manage such a large thing that it became. And I don't think the intent of that, from what I understand from Al and his team, it was never intended to get that large, kind of like a lot of these things have gotten. Louvre de Cult, for example. And again, I'm sure they love doing that stuff, but it is very, very stressful for their team, and it's stressful. It's not even just the day of or the days leading up to the event. It becomes an all year thing that ends up consuming all of those people.
It's like 400 cars or 500 cars.
And all these proceeds go to charity, which is also a great thing that they do. But these people also have real jobs too. So it turns into a really, really difficult thing, and everybody really wants to go to these things, and we love going to them, and we're just thankful that they're doing anything is where I'm trying to lead this to.
Yeah.
And it's a smaller event, so it's a 2-day event this year. There's a track day on Friday, and then there's a show thing on Saturday. It's going to be at a winery down in the Homestead area, and then obviously the track day is at Homestead Raceway. We love that track actually a lot. The track's very, very well kept. One of our favorite tracks to be on. It's not going to beat the shit out of your car like some of the other tracks that exist.
It's smooth, what you wouldn't expect from a track.
Yeah, like Sebring, where it'll rattle your fillings out. This is not that case at Homestead. It's very well manicured. You can really push the limits. And I found a very interesting thing, what I've been told from an insider there. There's only going to be 50 cars total on track, meaning they're only selling 50 slots. So if the people that are looking, to purchase and they notice their price increase, that's probably the main reason behind it, is because there's a lot less vehicles allowed to come to this event. Yeah. So they have to offset the cost because the track's the price is the price. So
it's not cheap.
Yeah, they don't cut them a business just because they're a deal, I should say, because they're bringing less cars. The price is the price. So on top of that, we end up having to eat that cost. I'm part of that. I want to be on track, so I'm eating that cost. But the fact that they're scaling back a little bit, from what I understand, is and where I was going with that. I think moving forward, even after post-COVID, if there is a such thing that'll ever be post-COVID, but maybe I should use the term of less social distancing, and where things maybe come back to a semi-normal type of situation where there's not social distancing mandated. I don't think DRT is ever going to be the way it used to be. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that, because it was getting, even we thought it was big. Just as a spectator, you didn't even get to see everything, or you might not have got to see everything from the last time we did it. I mean, was it 8 different streets that we had to block off in downtown area?
Insane.
So, which was cool because of all the restaurants and everything. You could just walk to a restaurant, have food, that type of thing. So that made that aspect cool. I kind of enjoy the fact that it is getting smaller from just work perspective. Now I'm going to take off a day.
Yeah.
It's not growing like what I kept thinking. I was like,
where it's going to turn into car week in California.
Days. Yeah. So.
And who knows, maybe it'll blow back up someday. But from what I understand, like the feels from that crew, they're appreciating that it's scaling back some. And I think they kind of want it to be more intimate the way it is now, or going to be, I should say, because it kind of got out of hand in the sense of it was a great thing for the city, and a lot of people on foot were just coming to see it. But at the same time, a lot of those people, unfortunately, weren't Porsche enthusiasts, and they could give a rat's ass about the cars. They just thought it was a neat thing that was going on in the city, and it's one of those like, oh, let's go to the mall today. Oh, what's going on over here? Oh, let's go check this out.
And that's how Michael's brain works.
Exactly. And they're just rolling through there with their kids and stuff. And the theory behind that is you want to expose those people to that, but I think there's a level of lack of appreciation from those people too, because they don't realize what the hell they're looking at, and they don't really care either. It's just one of those like gee whiz things that kind of happened in their day. Almost kind of like, yeah, we got ice cream yesterday. Okay, are you going to even bring that up? No, probably not. So I think this is going to be more of an intimate for the Porsche people, almost kind of like a homecoming for the people that are the dedicated folks and the people that really want to get together, so the people that you can see each other. And that's what this, I think the ethos behind this was generally supposed to be anyhow. So I'm looking forward to that as well. The thing, it's a double-edged sword, because when you have a big event like where it used to be, you want that exposure, right? Like you always want whatever you're hosting, whether it's business, you always want as many people to know about it as possible, as many people to show up as possible. But then you get to a level sometimes where that turns into a really management fiasco. Even for us, when we're there, last year we were doing a podcast, and I'm not saying this is as a woe as us, because I really appreciate everybody who's come up to talk to us and everything like that. But like, we were working on a time schedule because a lot of people are there for fun. Yeah. We were there for work as well. Like, we were trying to mix fun and play at the same time, or fun and work, at the same time. But sometimes that doesn't really work out that well, because we have timed stuff where we need to be somewhere where we're speaking, like where we're on the other side of the stage, where we're trying to speak, and we're trying to get there, and we're 3 blocks over, but we get stopped 20 times before we can get to the stage. Now we're running late, and we don't want to be rude and cut people off in conversation, but you end up having 20 10-minute conversations. I mean, before you realize it, you're late to your obligated event. You need to be there. And same thing when we had a podcast while we were there. And I'm not saying, again, this is not a woe is us. I'm just trying to talk to you from a logistic standpoint. When there's so many people there, where I'm going with that is I'd rather have had an hour conversation with each of those people instead of a 10-minute conversation. But I think there were so many people there that we had to find a way to divvy up that time. And as opposed to maybe something more intimate that's coming, what I'm anticipating is that we'll be able to have more genuine, deeper conversations with people, as opposed to like, oh, cool, you drove your Target, awesome, hey, thank you for listening to the show, good to see you, awesome, oh, your name's Raul, awesome, nice to meet you, hey, yeah, cool, oh, you like that episode, cool, thank you, awesome, thank you so much, hey, we gotta go, and then it seems very ingenuine from us too. Like, I'd rather have like the deeper like, hey, show me your car, let me see the engine bay, what have you done to it, what's going on?
8 blocks later.
Yeah.
Oh, so far away, why did you park so far?
Yeah. But I mean, that's maybe something more we can do this time at DRT, to spend those.
That's true.
Hey, I want to show you my car. Like that kind of stuff is like impossible at the magnitude of what DRT used to be. Like, we couldn't do that.
Same
like,
thing for Alan.
We would have got to look at like 4 or 5 cars if that would have happened. And that's a good point. I was going to lead to that. Like, Al doesn't get to speak to anybody he wants to speak to. Like, all of his close network friends that are there at those events, we all know to leave him alone because he's putting out fires all day long. But he wants to be talking to his friends, but he can't be because he's doing all those things. And not just Al, but Al and his entire team, like Yordi, Sunil, all of these guys that are doing so much, Jaime, all of these guys that are doing so much for these guys. And before they know it, the day's over, and they got to speak to nobody. And everybody's usually coming from out of town, out of state, sometimes overseas.
Yep. Around the world.
They don't get to spend time with these folks. But I really, really think, and I talked to Al on the phone, he was really looking forward to this event being such a smaller scale, because he's anticipating being able to sit down with people and have a beer and have a conversation about a car and how things are going. And that's what this is supposed to be, is we're supposed to catch up and hang out and all that stuff. And DRT was kind of so big and Hollywood, and it was just too big, I think, for a little while. And not that I didn't appreciate it. It was amazing, all of these things that are involved. But I think for these guys to exhale a little bit, they're really looking forward to that.
Do you think we'll start seeing other events kind of scale down, or just events, even new events,
I think
smaller?
I think so, for 2 reasons. And I don't want to use this word, but because it sounds like a negative word, but they're going to piggyback on the thing of COVID and trying to be safe, and not that they don't want to be safe, but I think it's going to help ease it, as opposed to, like, for example, if Al tried to do this and we weren't even in a COVID state right now, and everything was fine, and he did this now, everybody like, why is he doing this? Like, why isn't DRT the same size as it used to be? I almost think this gives him a doorway where it's okay. And I think not just him, but all of these other places, i.e. maybe Luftical, whoever's hosting an event, it almost gives them an okay to be smaller, because people are like, okay, we get it. There's a limited capacity. We understand it.
Because something else is.
But before all of this COVID stuff, people would get upset. There would be outrage if this happened. They would say, "What do you mean you're going smaller? You had X amount of cars last year, and now you're doing this tiny venue, and you're only doing it for 2. Man, this is BS. What are you doing?" Like you would
take over all of Miami.
Yeah, the mob would come out. Yeah. Like everybody would come out complaining. Same thing for any of these other events that may be possibly scaling back this year. I think it's a good reason for people to be safer and maybe even scale their events down and make them a little bit more intimate and make them a little bit more, I guess, grassroots again. Yep. Like how they kind of all started to begin with. Maybe almost bring them back home a little bit as opposed to make them so over the top. Oh my God! Yeah, what do we? Oh, he's got a real dinosaur here. How the hell did he get one of those? What is this place?
Thanks, John Hammond.
Yeah, like it's just nuts, right? Jurassic Park. But really, really looking forward to it. Again, we're on our way down there right now. If you guys couldn't join us, I know there's a few people that are stuck overseas that can't make it. Rob from the 964 page, I know this is your annual homage to come over.
Yeah, that's my UK drinking buddy over there.
Yeah, we're going to miss you for not making it. Really, really going to miss you, Rob. I know you're probably freezing your ass off over there right now and wishing you were going to be in Miami. And same stuff like that. There's a lot of people that can't make it for a lot of other reasons, either health, business, travel, whatever. And I'm sure they've considered that. So another reason to scale it back. And it's a safe thing to do, right? Like you don't want to put this thing back on the magnitude. And if you've never been to DRT before, and I keep using that acronym because I just assume, we've been on air for now 2 years, you've better know what DRT is, but it's Das Renn Treffen. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much the biggest thing that happens on the East Coast from a Porsche standpoint. And it's not one of those Concord, pull your car out onto the grass field at the 18th hole and wipe it down with a diaper type of thing. This is pretty much a culmination of everybody who's kind of just an enthusiast, really. There's not really like, hey, show it off, let's try to get best in show. That's not the vibe. The vibe is more of kind of like, let's get back to the roots. Like there's a track day. Not only these Concord events, they don't do stuff like that. They don't do a track day in addition to what they do and the hanging out and all this other hoity-toity stuff like that. It's not really like that. And I'm not knocking those events, but this what makes this event different. It's like it's kind of like a blend of urban stuff and very, very nice cars. Don't get me wrong. There's really, really nice cars there, but they get the vibe though. They're not out there shining the car up, hoping that they take home the grand prize and get the ribbon.
Yeah, it's almost the opposite. Like you barely see a stock car at this event. It's almost every car has some type of mod done to it, and not just the normal stuff you see. It's different.
Yeah, and it's that, and I think it produces that kind of vibe, though. I think most of the people that come to this event, and I think it's more of an enthusiast vibe. Most of the guys are drivers and gals are drivers of these cars. It's kind of like run what you brung type of thing. Mm-hmm. Like it's one of those things where there is Concord level stuff there. Garage 56 puts cars out there. They have Concord level stuff. But there's stuff like that all the way from that top level all the way down to, the daily driver stuff. And there's a place for all of it. And I think that's what makes this event different, because there is a place for all of it there. I think that's what makes DRT so special. Yeah, and really at the end of the day, let's be real. We're all there for the cars, but really the people who go to DRT is what really makes DRT special.
I go there to see Mike.
What's that?
I go there to see you every time.
Yeah. No, but we go there to see all the people that we go to, like our Miami family, basically, all the RMC guys, Al, Sunil, all of those guys, Jaime, like they're our second family down in South Florida. We go there to see, and then usually we go there to see the people we don't get to see a lot because it's a destination place, meaning Rob would fly in from England. We know we'd have some Cali guys that come in. I think some of the Chicago guys are going to try to fly in this year. Yeah. It's basically just kind of like a homecoming, essentially, for the year, where we all get together and we hang out. It just turns into one of those things, and really, it's a hangout, and we just happen to have Porsches, so that's really what it is, because we're all friends at the end of the day. You hear that crap out there again, Mike and
his lawn maintenance.
Yeah, but needless to say, we're happy we're going down, and I hope you guys enjoy the show. We will have probably some guests while we're down there, right? We're anticipating some podcast stuff. I don't want to ruin it right now on this show to tell you who they're going to be, because sometimes things change like the weather when we're down there. Like some people can come on, some people can't. and that's just part of the deal. But I anticipate a couple podcasts while we're down there, right? Like we have a couple people lined up, at least 2, I believe. We'll make sure that we'll do our best to make that happen. Whether or not it does, you guys will find out, right?
Yeah, you'll know.
Yeah, but I don't have anything else. Do you have anything?
I don't. If you're at DRT, come say hi. Yeah,
if you do happen to make it to DRT, please do come up to us and have that conversation that we kind of like went over. Would love to touch base with some people and get to know you a little bit better than just kind of a, hey, how are you? I listened to the show and my name's so-and-so and see you later. Yeah, I'd love to see what you brought if we can, and see if it's interesting and why you think it's interesting and why it means so much to you. I'd like to get a little bit more into that, and touch base with a little bit more people and kind of deepen those relationships, because I think that's what this DRT is supposed to be about. So we want to kind of carry that culture through, right?
Yep.
So wish us luck. We'll be down there, and if you make it down, we'll see you. And if you don't, we'll definitely get the full report for you, and hopefully get some footage for you as well on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
See ya. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of PCAR Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at PCAR Talk or online at PCARTalk.com.